Hi, this is Dr. Angie, and I want to welcome you to Dr. Angie Live in less than 10 minutes. So, this week, what we're talking about, and again, we're going to cover this just surface, but we're going to do it in less than 10 minutes, is this idea of situational parenting versus conscious parenting. So, with that said, let's just dive in. So, situational parenting is what I think is what do I do in a given situation? And so when I started thinking about this, it's because I so often have people call me or talk to me in my office, or as soon as they find out what I do, because we're in a conversation, they begin to ask me about their children. And I get questions like, well, what should I do if my kiddo with ADHD won't sit still for homework? What should I do if my teenager is always angry at me and stays in their room? What should I do if my 12-month-old hates peas? So I get all these, what should I do? Like, Dr. Angie, tell me, what should I do in this situation or this situation or this situation? Conscious parenting is different. As opposed to asking, hey, you person outside of me, what should I do? Conscious parenting means reconnecting with that part of self and being aware of self and being aware of the self that is my kiddos and my loved ones, and being able to know from self what to do in a given situation based on my love and my compassion for that individual. So I think you would agree with situational parenting, there are not enough pages or enough books to fill up to give you what to do in every single situation for your kiddo. As opposed to conscious parenting, where it comes from I know what to do based on my individual kiddo. So would you agree? So any of you out there who have at least 2 kids know that even if it's the same parents and the same environment, and you've done everything the same with them, those 2 kiddos are completely different. Would you agree? So if every individual is different, how can we say this is what you should do in every single situation, right? There aren't enough experts to cover every single situation that is possible with your particular kiddo. So then the question is, well, what do I do? So what I like to do when I'm working with parents is that if they ask me a question like, Dr. Andrew, what should I do when my kiddo with ADHD, who's moving all the time, can't sit still for 30 minutes to do his homework? So my question is then to them, so why do you think he's behaving that way? Okay. So what would make that easier for him? Okay. What would make that situation easier for you? And then what is that expectation you're setting in that given situation? Right? And so with those questions, I have not told them what to do. They're coming up with that information themselves. So it's all in there. We have it in there. It's just how do we bring it to the surface? And so when I am out and I'm speaking and I'm talking about parenting from this place of love and compassion, it really starts from within self. So I'm sorry, but it's not about how to change the kiddos. Most of it is about how do we change self? How do we reconnect to our true self so we can connect to the true self in our kiddo? And the first thing we need to do is we need to become aware of how we are responding. Now, I wrote a little workbook. It's an 8-week workbook. It's called the Everyday Parent Fix-It Manual. And in there, we go through 8 weeks or 8 stages of building our own consciousness of self so that we can now respond versus react to our children. So what is the difference between responding and reacting? A reaction is your child does something, so you scream and you yank them away from the table. That's a reaction. A response is thought out. It's felt out. And so when your child does something as opposed to reacting, think about, well, what happened? Literally, is it just spilled milk? Right? Or it has something catastrophic. Was it a life-threatening situation, right? That we may need to raise our voice a little bit to and pull them away from the situation. So we're responding instead of reacting. So when I wrote that book, I wrote it based on my personal experience in parenting and finding joy in my balance in my life as a parent. And so there's a few things that we can do. Each week we talk about different things. There's things like being present, things like understanding cause and effect, things like the idea of perception, things like the idea of having balance in life, and taking care of ourselves. Self-care is all in there. But one of the things that you can do immediately is thinking about this idea of perception. So perception, what is perception? Perception is when we bring information in from outside of us through our senses, our primary senses, as well as our intuition and our gut feeling. And then when bringing that information in through our senses, then it kind of rattles around and goes through our own belief system, our self-limiting beliefs, our positive belief system, our negative belief system, our opinions, our biases, our upbringing, how our parents raised us, how we've reacted to other people, all of that. And then we perceive what's going on. And we know this to be true because you can have one situation and how it is perceived can be completely different by the 20 people who are perceiving it, all the way down to the gender of the individual, what the individual is wearing. It's because everyone's eyes can be bringing in the same information, but how they interpret it based on their own belief system and biases is going to determine how they perceive. So when we are in communication with anybody, whenever we're in a social engagement, and anytime there's two people there, there's a social engagement going on. If we can come out of self a little bit and have the ability to perceive what's going on for that other individual from their point of view, that is empathy. Perception from someone else's viewpoint is empathy. And once we can empathize, now we can start to say, what can I do from that new place of love and compassion, understanding of where they're coming from? How can I respond versus react to this situation? So there's a whole lot more on this. Situational parenting is good for some things, but for me, I think whenever you're looking for a response, go back into your place of love and compassion, empathize with the individual that you're dealing with, and you're going to be able to come up with that response. Empower yourself. Don't give your power away to the experts, who say they know everything about you and yours. No one knows your kiddo like you do. So what are some things you can walk away with and you can begin to do today? Number one, respond instead of react, right? Think about and feel your response to whatever the situation is. Empathize with your child. You were a child once. That doesn't mean you were the same child. They again have different perceptions, but you were a child once. So try and see things from their perspective. Remember that you know your child best, better than the teachers, better than your family members, better than your in-laws. You know your child better than anybody else. And realize that your child is not really your child. Your child is another human being that has been brought here to live life in their path and their purpose. They're not a mini you. They're not here to walk in your footsteps. They're here to create their own. So remember, they're an individual, right? Not a little you. So they're not here to fulfill your dreams. They're here to fulfill their own. And last but not least, if all you can see in your child is faults, and that's all that you are concentrating on, then you need a new pair of glasses, right? You need to be able to see your child through that glorious place of love and compassion. So don't complicate things. Parent from love and compassion, and you will always be on the right track. So that's it for this. I did it. We're under 10 minutes, and we will see you next month. Take care and keep it simple.